The cameras were rolling. The audience was buzzing. Late-night laughter echoed across the studio as Jimmy Kimmel leaned back in his chair, cracking jokes in his usual smug, sarcastic style. But tonight was different. Keanu Reeves, the beloved, soft-spoken actor known for his humility and depth, sat across from him, visibly tense. Something wasn't right. The air was thicker than usual. The smile on Keanu's face didn't quite reach his eyes. It started subtle, a backhanded joke about his age, then a dig at his silence on political issues. The audience chuckled, unsure whether it was all part of the act. But Keanu didn't laugh. Jimmy pushed further. So, Keanu, you've played some pretty dumb characters in your time. Ever worry that it's not just acting? The studio gasped. Keanu's eyes locked on Jimmy. Calm, cold, measured. You know, Keanu began, his voice low and steady, what's truly dumb is thinking kindness is weakness. That was the moment everything changed. The mood snapped. Jimmy, caught off guard, tried to pivot with humor. But it didn't land. The audience wasn't laughing anymore. They were silent, glued to every word, every breath, every glance. And then, out of nowhere, the show cut to commercial. The screen went black. When it returned, Keanu was gone, his seat empty. Whispers spread. Speculation ignited. Was he kicked off the show? Did he walk out? What happened during that break? By the next morning, the internet exploded. Footage leaked. Staff members spoke anonymously. A truth was coming to light that would shatter the show's polished image and reveal just how far one man would go to protect his dignity. It all started weeks before the show ever aired. Behind the scenes, whispers had been circulating among the production staff. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings were slipping. Viewers were growing tired of the recycled punchlines and forced political hot takes. The producers needed a viral moment, something shocking, something controversial. That's when Keanu Reeves's team got the invite. At first, Keanu was hesitant. He rarely did talk shows, but this time he agreed, out of respect for his fans, not for the host. He didn't come to promote a movie. He came because he believed it could be a rare, meaningful conversation. He was wrong. From the moment he arrived, at the studio, the red flags were everywhere. The green room was unusually cold, literally and figuratively. Other celebrity guests were offered drinks, snacks, warmth. Keanu? Left waiting alone in silence. No welcome, no prep, no hospitality. The producer barely acknowledged him, flipping through cue cards with visible disinterest. And the script? Full of bait. Jokes that mocked his spiritual beliefs, allusions to internet, conspiracies about his personal life, and even references to past tragedies. Topics Keanu had never publicly spoken about, and never intended to. His assistant, Jordan, quietly approached one of the stage managers. Hey, some of these questions are way out of line. Keanu's not here for that. The man scoffed. Tell him to toughen up. It's late-night TV, not therapy, Keanu overheard. Still, he said nothing. Just nodded to Jordan and returned to his seat, adjusting his suit jacket as the countdown to live broadcast began. But something inside him shifted. He wasn't nervous. He was ready. What he didn't know was how far Jimmy was prepared to go to manufacture his viral moment, no matter who it hurt, no matter what it cost. And once the cameras went live, the disrespect would no longer be hidden. It would be broadcast to millions. The lights went up. The crowd clapped on cue. Jimmy's signature smirk stretched across his face as he greeted the audience. Tonight, we've got the most mysterious man in Hollywood. The monk with a motorcycle, Keanu Reeves. The applause was genuine. Fans loved him. But even that love was quickly weaponized. Jimmy leaned forward in his chair, index cards in hand, flipping them with theatrical flair. So, Keanu, you've dodged interviews for years. Is it because you're too deep for us, or just too boring? A few awkward laughs rippled through the crowd. Keanu blinked, paused, then smiled gently. I just think sometimes silence says more than words. Jimmy clapped his hands in mock amusement. Ah, the philosopher speaks. He didn't stop there. The questions got sharper, meaner, more personal. He poked fun at Keanu's solitary lifestyle. Questioned why someone with that much money still dresses like a janitor. He brought up his childhood trauma, tried to frame it as quirky mystique. Then, with a twisted grin, he dropped the line that made the room tighten like a wire. You've lost a lot in life, right? Friends, family. Do you ever think maybe the universe is just trying to keep you alone? The audience gasped. Some gasped in disbelief. Others laughed nervously. Keanu's face remained still. Not stoic, just still. But inside, a line had been crossed. Jordan, his assistant, sat frozen off camera. This wasn't comedy. It was cruelty with a punchline. And yet, Jimmy wasn't finished. He showed a doctored meme of Keanu looking miserable on a park bench, nicknaming it Sad Keanu's Real Mood. The screen behind them lit up with the image. The audience laughed, louder this time. Keanu looked up at it, then slowly turned toward Jimmy. Still no anger, no raised voice. Just a long, unreadable stare. Jimmy shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but tried to keep the show moving because he didn't know. That stare, it wasn't defeat. It was warning. The screen still showed the sad Keanu meme behind them. Jimmy was on a roll now, basking in the laughter, feeding off the crowd's energy like a man starved for attention. He turned back to Keanu. Come on, lighten up. It's all in good fun. Don't go all Matrix on me now, the audience roared. Keanu gave a tight smile. Not out of agreement, out of grace. Jimmy leaned closer. You know, maybe if you'd been this emotional in your performances, you would have won an Oscar by now. That one landed. The crowd didn't know how to react. Half laughed, half silent. It wasn't funny anymore. It felt wrong. Keanu glanced at the floor, then back up. His posture still upright, but his energy muted. He wasn't defeated. He was absorbing it. The camera operator zoomed in. It was the shot they wanted. The humble man humbled, the image that would trend. Then came the real blow. Jimmy tossed his cue cards aside. All right, well, I think we've squeezed all we can out of Mr. Enlightenment. Folks, we've got a band waiting to play, and a real comedian in the wings. So give it up one more time for the most mysterious man who refused to play along tonight, Keanu Reeves. Applause. But this time, it was forced. Mechanical. Keanu stood. No one rushed to help him off stage. No handshake, no closing note. Just a quiet dismissal as the spotlight shifted away. Jordan stood near the curtain, fuming. But Keanu raised a hand to stop him. He didn't want to make a scene. Yet. He walked off stage slowly, disappearing behind the curtain. Not angry, not broken, just finished playing along. Back on stage, Jimmy grinned into the camera. But he didn't know the cameras had kept rolling, and the moment that followed off air would be the clip that broke the internet. Backstage, the air felt heavier, thicker, tense with what had just unfolded. Keanu walked past interns and crew members who averted their eyes. No one offered a word. No one dared. But one person didn't. Look away. In the shadows near the hallway exit stood an older gentleman. Gray suit, earpiece, arms folded. Quiet, observing. He wasn't part of the regular crew. He stepped forward as Keanu passed. Mr. Reeves. Keanu stopped. The man extended a hand. My name is Alan Price. I oversee standards and ethics at the network. I've been with this company for 30 years. What I just witnessed was unacceptable. Keanu looked him in the eye, said nothing. Alan continued. We monitor all backstage feeds for legal compliance. What happened live was one thing. What happened before and off air, that's a liability and a disgrace. Keanu's assistant, Jordan, stood by, wide-eyed, uncertain. Alan handed Keanu a small flash drive. Here's the full uncut footage. Every insult, every off-script moment. The mic was never turned off. And this, he tapped the drive, this is about to go viral for all the right reasons. Keanu took the drive without a word, just a small nod. Then he did something unexpected. He turned back, walked calmly to the hallway leading to the studio doors, where a group of young production interns sat huddled, whispering, still processing what they'd seen. He approached one of them, a girl, no older than 22, her eyes full of guilt. He smiled. "Would you mind posting something for me?" She blinked. "Oh, of course." "What?" Keanu handed her his phone, already opened. A single line typed out, "Kindness is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. KR." She read it aloud, stunned, then hit post. Within 10 minutes, it began trending, not because of hashtags, but because it came from him. The tide had shifted. The audience just didn't know it yet. Jimmy Kimmel was still laughing backstage. But not for long. The post spread like wildfire. Within minutes, Keanu's quiet message, 12 words, no hashtags, no filters, was shared across platforms by celebrities, influencers and fans who instinctively felt something deeper was at play. Kindness is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. KR. It wasn't just a quote. It was a signal. Meanwhile, backstage, Jimmy was laughing with his producers, high on the success of what he thought was a classic roast segment. He didn't know about the flash drive. He didn't know about the post. Yet. But others did. Jordan's phone buzzed non-stop. The tweet had hit over 1 million likes in under 30 minutes. News blogs were already speculating. What happened on Jimmy Kimmel's set was trending on Google. Inside the studio, some staff started acting different. A makeup artist who had coldly ignored Keanu earlier now approached Jordan quietly. "Hey, can I just say?" That quote, it hit hard. Then a young lighting tech whispered, "I always thought Keanu was a class act. That show tonight, it didn't feel right." Even Alan, the network compliance officer, had made a call to corporate legal. Things were no longer running on Jimmy's schedule. Then the footage leaked, not through Keanu, not through Jordan, but from one of the production assistants, sickened by what they saw, furious with how Keanu had been treated. The unedited clip hit Reddit first, then X, Twitter, then TikTok, where it exploded. It showed Jimmy mocking Keanu before the show even started, bragging to a staffer off camera, "Let's see if I can get this Buddha boy to break." The internet did not take it lightly. By the time Jimmy learned what was happening, it was already too late. He checked his phone. Froze. A wave of silence fell over the room, because while Jimmy Kimmel was preparing for his next punchline, the world had already started turning on him. Jimmy sat in his dressing room, scrolling furiously. His phone vibrated non-stop. Tweets, headlines, clips. Kimmel humiliates Keanu Reeves on live TV, then this happened. Leaked footage exposes behind-the-scenes bullying at late-night show. His face flushed. He turned to his assistant. "Who posted that video? Who the hell leaked that?" Before they could respond, the door creaked open. It was Alan Price. Jimmy jumped up. "Alan, what's going on? Why is this blowing up like this? It was just jokes." Alan didn't smile. "You crossed a line. Multiple. The footage speaks for itself." Jimmy scoffed. "Come on, it's Keanu Reeves. He's too zen to care. He didn't even say anything." Then a voice cut through the room. He didn't have to. Jimmy turned. There in the doorway stood Keanu. No entourage. No anger, just him and silence. Jimmy tried to play it off. "Keanu, buddy, look, I was just doing a bit. You know how it is in late night." Keanu stepped forward. Calm, measured. "You wanted a moment, Jimmy. Something that would trend. You got it. Jimmy's smile wavered. Keanu continued. But the thing about moments is they last. And what people remember isn't who threw the punchline, it's who stood tall after being hit. The room froze. You mocked pain. You mocked grief. You mocked silence. But the world isn't laughing with you anymore. Alan stepped in. Corporate has asked for a meeting, Jimmy. Today, Jimmy stammered. Wait, you're serious? Keanu turned to leave. He paused at the door, looking over his shoulder one last time. You could have had a real conversation tonight. Something honest. Instead, you chose to humiliate. That choice is yours to live with. Then he walked out, and Jimmy Kimmel, once the master of the room, stood alone in it for the first time, speechless. By morning, the headlines weren't just viral, they were seismic. Network execs launch internal review. After Jimmy Kimmel's on-air humiliation of Keanu Reeves, Hollywood rallies behind Keanu, celebs condemn Kimmel for crossing the line. What happens when the nicest guy in Hollywood is pushed too far? Within 24 hours, dozens of celebrities, A-list actors, directors, activists, publicly stood with Keanu. Sandra Bullock posted a throwback photo with the caption, "He's carried Hollywood on his back without ever needing to shout. About time. The world sees why." Robert Downey Jr. reposted the full clip with one word: respect. Even late-night rivals took shots. Stephen Colbert opened his show with, "Tonight, we talk about kindness and why it terrifies people who are used to cruelty getting the laughs." Behind the scenes, the network was in damage control. Advertisers threatened to pull out. Viewers launched petitions. Staff emails were leaked, showing a culture of silence and toxicity enabled behind Jimmy's on-camera charisma. Then came the internal announcement. Jimmy Kimmel would be placed on immediate suspension pending investigation. His public apology was posted hours later, wooden, lifeless, crafted by PR. But it was too late. The world had already chosen a side, and it wasn't his. Meanwhile, Keanu didn't speak again. No press tour, no interviews. He didn't need to. The image of him calmly leaving the set, of him standing his ground without theatrics, had said more than any monologue ever could. That viral quote, "Kindness is not weakness, silence is not surrender," was now printed on shirts, posters, and pinned across social media bios like armor. The man who was mocked for being too quiet had become the loudest voice in the room, without ever raising it. The studio lot that once buzzed with energy now felt eerily quiet. Jimmy Kimmel's nameplate was removed from his dressing room. Interns whispered in hallways, staff moved, with uncertainty. And the stage, once his playground, was dark. He sat alone in his private office, blinds drawn, scrolling through headlines he couldn't control. His apology had landed like a stone in water. No ripple, no warmth. Just cold eyes staring back. Through screens, a moment of poor judgment, taken out of context. I've always admired Keanu. Too little. Too late. Meanwhile, Keanu? He had already left the city. No press tour, no follow-up interviews, no retaliation, just a return to normal life. Quiet walks, low-key bookstore visits, motorcycle rides through winding roads. Reporters tried to chase him down for a quote, but all they got was the same gentle refusal. There's nothing to add. The moment spoke for itself. And it had, because in a world addicted to noise, Keanu's silence had roared. Jimmy's ratings plummeted in the weeks that followed. Sponsors pulled back. A rotation of guest hosts tried to patch the sinking ship. But the damage was done. Public. Trust wasn't just broken, it was gone. But the story didn't end in vengeance. It ended in clarity. The world saw the difference between platform and purpose. One man used a stage to humiliate, the other used silence to heal, and in doing so, Keanu didn't just protect his dignity, he reminded the world what true strength looks like. Quiet, composed, unshakable. Some moments don't need to be shouted, they don't need applause, retweets, or ratings, they just need to be felt. Long after the controversy faded, long after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension turned into a permanent step back from late-night television, one moment still lingered in the hearts of millions. A man sitting silently under the weight of mockery. Then standing with more power than anyone in the room. Keanu Reeves didn't win that night by fighting back. He won by being unchanged. In a culture obsessed with clapping back, with weaponizing words, with quick revenge, he chose stillness, integrity, timeless dignity, and that made all the difference. Years later, when asked about the incident in a rare interview, Keanu smiled gently and said, "The loudest truths are the ones we whisper to ourselves. If you can hold your peace in a room built to break you, you've already won." That quote would go on to be etched on plaques, printed on shirts, turned into tattoos. But more importantly, it changed people. Fans who once stayed silent in the face of bullying spoke up. Creatives who felt overlooked found strength in their quiet nature. And late-night hosts across networks began rethinking what it meant to roast a guest, because the world had been reminded that empathy isn't weakness, it's revolution in slow motion. And Keanu Reeves, without throwing a single insult, had sparked it. So the next time someone tries to belittle your quiet nature, your stillness, your peace, remember this story, and know that silence, when held with truth, can echo louder than any scream. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder. That quiet strength speaks loudest in a noisy world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more powerful stories like this one. Until next time, stay kind, stay brave, and never underestimate the power of silence.